left off talking about international marketing research, why it's so important. We talked a little bit about primary, secondary data. Maybe some clear examples of some mishaps that we say Coca-Cola in terms of language barriers, right? Not having the right framework of language, trying to introduce the word Coca-Cola could have been offensive, right? Or could have been humorous, in which case still would not resonate in China. Would not resonate in China with consumers. A host of different things, right? McDonald's, for example, they actually cater their products in India, eliminating beef import because of the religious practices in India. So that's a challenge within itself because we know beef import is a huge part of their product here in the United States. Let me think of some other examples. So we said that Kellogg's, right, and trying to introduce cereal in India was a challenge as well there too, because of cold cereal, they only eat milk cold, right? So how do you go about trying to persuade using different techniques? All sorts of different techniques. I know that Pepsi in Japan use participant observation at vending machines to see how the Japanese use their vending machines, right? How they go about using them. Because vending machines are huge in Japan. They're essentially like going to a fast food restaurant, right? You get entire meals there quite frequently. So Pepsi had those kind of market research methods. So we can think about methodology, right? How do we go about obtaining this information? Which way we use, simple things, questionnaire surveys. May not do it all the time. Maybe we need to send somebody there to culturally immerse. Maybe it's a place in West Africa. Can't really do surveys and questionnaires here because, I don't know, maybe the analysis wouldn't come out the way that you would expect. So you may have to send someone there with a guide, with a gatekeeper who knows the terrain, knows the language, can interpret things of that nature, right? So different methods that we could use, right? We could use participant observation, cultural immersion, or send somebody there for a couple months to study. Other things we consider, hey, how do we ask questions, right? I'd say fundamentally it should be simple. Things should be very, very simple in how you ask questions. But it should be, the language should be appropriate, right? We say, hey, are you too direct or are you too indirect? Right? Based on things like power dimension. Are you what you accept in here, too agreeable or very disagreeable? That the framing questions that you can ask for market research. We'll talk about quantitative and qualitative as well too. Qualitative is like, hey, you may get more deeper insights. Open-ended questions. Or like, open-ended questions those deeper insights might be a little bit too confusing to interpret, too challenging, right? So a lot of things to consider as we talk about the importance of research, right? We want to innovate as businesses, as marketers, we want to innovate, right? We want to move into new markets, right? We want to expand, we want to grow. We want to change, but we don't want to evolve and change just for the sake of changing. Your evolution has to be guided by information, right? It has to be guided by information so that you're able to make informed decisions. So where would we leave off? We talked about primary coffee. Okay, good. We have things like market size assessment, right? Maybe before we even get to the nuances of the cost, we want to learn about the market size assessment, right? So we understand, hey, what's our potential population that we can grab, right? We can use a comparable country, right? We're going to do some method of analogy, reference one country to the next. So we're a similar size, maybe similar demographics of some sort. That's a good way to start with an assessment, right? We got longitudinal longitudinal method of analysis, right? Consumption patterns, different than cultural factors, right? So we want to understand how people consume, right? What are their patterns of behavior for consumption? Some other factors, competition, trade barriers cause actual sales to differ, right? So we can make a study to see, hey, what are the trade barriers in reference to one country to the next, right? How is competition a factor? Technological advances allow use of product innovations earlier, right? What we call leapfrog, right? So we can use technology as a sort of way to kind of gauge the information. And then compare the sales, market size equal local productions plus imports minus exports, right? So kind of give it a little formula here for what market size would be, right? What's the local production, how much are they imported, and subtract the amount of they export. Primary and secondary data. We say, hey, primary is research. You know, it's original research. You send somebody out there, your company, like you hired a third party to gather original research, right? Advantages, right? Specific to the problem. You say, hey, I don't need to look at government data, Census Bureau information, industry sector market information gathered from particular industries or the government. I can send someone to get a specific question answered. Well, that's an advantage. That kind of saves you time if you're looking for answers to a specific question, to a problem. Relevant. Hey, maybe the data that you source from other sources is old. And the information's there, but unfortunately it's 5 to 10 years old. Wouldn't be really useful for us, right? But if we had our own primary data, we kind of did it ourselves, it'd be relevant, right? Disadvantages, costly, right? You do gotta hire a third party to do the work. You may someone from your company, right? Who costs a lot. You think of travel, lodging, the amount of time needed to get the information, right? Issues that can happen between. Right? So it takes time. It's costly. Can you wait? Can you afford to do so? Secondary data, right? Data is already out there. Information that we can use for free, possibly free, right? Things that the government puts out. All government puts out information on its commerce, on business information, market information. We can use that, right? Low cost, relatively fast to collect, right? Put it into some sort of information system and analyze it. Disadvantages, hey, too general, doesn't really, I don't know if it's going to answer specific questions to your particular problem. That's the market, right? Less relevant and dated. Some questions, secondary data. Hey, who collected today? There's one of us, right? Is this some sort of biased data to some degree? Right? You know, can you actually see how biased this information is? For what purpose? Any reason for purposely misrepresenting the facts? Could have put it in numbers. Governments do it all the time because they're competing against other countries for GDPs, right? They want to make their country seem like they're suffering economically. Who knows, right? A lot of bribery going on in that country. Do we actually rely on it? Pay somebody off to place this information out there, right? To give this information about an industry to some degree. How is the data collected? Methodology. Ethnographic, is it qualitative, is it quantitative, right? Is it some other mixed methods, right? Are the data internally consistent and logical in light of known data sources or market factors, right? So is it consistent? Being referenced it against other things for it to be kind of reliable to a degree, right? So you gotta probably compare it with some other data that you find as well too. Availability, is it available, right? You say all countries put out information, but to what degree? right? Is the information for an entire nation or is it for a region? We have to think, there's challenges within nations even when it comes to language. For example, if you're conducting research and you're trying to enter the Canadian market, you have to ask yourself the question, well, the Canadians speak French and the Canadians speak English, predominantly, right? So there's a whole host of information that you have to interpret differently in that regard, and how you're going to approach entering the Canadian market, right? If you're in America. Think of two different conversions. We have international standard SI units, and then we have metric system. Most of the world uses metric system. We have this imperial system. The U.S. uses feet, right? Most of the world uses meters and things like that. And why do we use that? Because we want to be like Apple, we want to hold on to stuff, right? But that also leads to issues, right? Even with conversions within arithmetic. Reliability of the data, is it optimistic, is it understated, right? We say, hey, sometimes the data, the numbers can be kind of fudged, or the information itself can be kind of overstated. And then comparability of data, categories, currencies, right? Don't compare to different things in different categories, frequency, ratios, sample things. We have things like census data, right? Here, highlighted to a census in year 2000 was estimated to have 40 million undercounts, 5 to 10 million overcounts, right? So it shows that, hey, that's a huge margin of error when we're dealing with a lot of census data, right, put out by the government. People are missed in census, so is the census reliable? Like, people weren't home, they didn't answer the question, right? Nobody responds to the mail, actually, random stuff is in the back, right? A lot of people, who wants to be bothered? We'll throw that in the trash, right? So, I don't know, so is it completely reliable if this is the type of behavior that we have? Insufficient space on census form, thought young babies, the elderly, or visitors should not be included, right? So we say, hey, that's skewed information. You, maybe as a country, did not include the elderly. You felt that they were irrelevant. You felt that the youth was relevant too. That skews your information. People did not wish to be included. Right? They have a right to reject. And the dwelling was missed. Right? So we have these canvases that go on this information. But, hey, very selective information. Not really completely reliable. I think even here, if we're talking demographics in the United States, we say even broad racial categories change over time with census information. So you're trying to target a market, you're looking at the information, you're like, who's looking at the black here? Right? Like, who's exactly white here? It's Hispanics were Hispanic, non-white. Interesting. Oh, they're racist. They're including this place and that place. So you're like, hey, a lot of this subjective information, I don't know if it may be completely relevant to specific questions, right? You're like, you can't take that type of demographic information and say, hey, let's target blacks in America. You're like, well, there's a difference between Jamaicans, Bahamians, Haitians, they come from places that speak Spanish, French, they don't need anything that African Americans speak. It's not the same taste profile. Different culture, different religious beliefs, right? Like, hey, same category that the census information has, but the people are completely different. They look alike, completely different how you look at life here, right? Or you can include like Nigerians and Ghanaians and things like that. They don't eat the same stuff, right? They don't even live in the same neighborhoods. They don't interact. They don't have the same behaviors. Thus, if you're targeting one specific, targeting one specific group and get broad information, you're probably gonna make some mistakes. right? So census data is kind of overgeneralized, right? Not that specific. So we say there could be lacking in accuracy of secondary data, right? Time and cost primary, time and cost coordination across countries, environmental differences leading to complex design, comparability across countries, right? So things change. Speaking on the environment, right? We can think of some other challenges, even when it comes to things like dishwashing liquids, detergents, ways that people keep clean clothes. Some people hang their clothes outside. So we have to consider climate. So think of Procter and Gamble and Unilever, how they have to make changes based on the climate. You can't have the same pie in every country. You can't have the same detergent because people use it in different ways in different climates. Maybe people hang this stuff outside and that particular chemical sort of mixture will allow things to deal with it. But a lot of things to consider even with those type of little nuances. The primary data is really great data, right? If you go to a master's program or PhD, that's what you do a dissertation, you do thesis, usually original work is primary data, right? Very lengthy. Right? You think of anything like getting like a PhD, it's a very lengthy process. Why? Because it's a dissertation, right? Like it's simple, you just grab all the secondary information, put it together, and split a paper. But you're talking about 300 pages, you write a book, you gotta like do the original research yourself. Takes a long time, but it does, it helps the body of knowledge. Right? It increases the scientific body of knowledge. Some issues here. Language comprehension. Right? You say interpretation is probably the most important thing, right? If people can't understand clearly or it's being interpreted in a different way, the meanings have to be the same. The understandings have to be the same too. Right? Completely useless information if you don't have the same meanings and the same understanding. Right? That is wasted money. Attitudes of interviewers and respondents, important. We say simpler the better, but the way you frame questions, you have to be very careful. Because you say power dimension, right? People may think that you're an authority. They don't want to reject your authority. They don't do that. Reject the authority of maybe this, how you present it to the information. Maybe it comes out as authoritative. Maybe they're frightened and they want to answer in a positive, agreeable way on every single question. They have to frame these questions specific to even power dimensions. The willingness to respond, right? Hey, depending on what's the methodology you use, like hey, people just won't answer the question, right? Or people just won't even entertain this research at all. Right? It seems intrusive, it seems offensive, it seems to invade my privacy. I don't want to know this stuff. But you could get around it, right? If we say use different methods. Maybe it could be participant observation. Like, hey, the people here they feel that they don't like people asking personal questions. It's understood. How can we get around that? Could we send somebody there to do ethnographic is just observe. You can have people just taking notes, making observations about behaviors, how people travel, how people eat, what their lines, people's respect lines, how's the menus look, do they prefer kiosks, do they prefer the old standard menus on the wall, right? All these different things. That probably gives you some of the best information because you're sitting in real time to be able to kind of notate little tiny nuances that you probably can pick up just reading some information. Maybe like the data sets, right? I can't pick up things, right? I can't pick up little nuances of behavior. But if we observe a ton of people, let's say we get recorded in some way, right? At a kiosk, at a vending machine, at a restaurant, would say, wow, this is interesting. Look at what they do. Look at this little tiny thing they do. Look at the body language. Look at this, look at that. Might give us a competitive advantage if we got a competitor that's using different methods to get their information. Like, hey, we know something that you don't, right? Because we get more relevant, precise information. Even with a population that's not willing to respond to other types of questions. The literacy and education level. I don't know. What do you think? We're trying to enter a market where there's low literacy, right? Low degree of education. How do you get around it? Any creative ways you think? Any good data from them? Information?
A lot of pictures.
Show them pictures. Okay, so you go around and show them pictures and ask questions with the pictures. Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Like interview them, and then take more time, but you never like talk to them.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we're gonna hire somebody that's in that community to ask these questions, right? And they'll ask the questions. We'll train that person on what we're trying to figure out, right? So we can ask the questions. But yeah, we shouldn't be sending anyone outside of that group, right? Because literacy is important in communication, and usually the people with the same status of education and literacy kind of speak the same language. It's the same language. They just kind of speak the different, same dialects, which is better understood by people in the group. The more in-group individuals. You wanna? General problems, who should respond, right? Ability to communicate opinions, willingness, method suitability, hey, mail, phone, personal, interviews, internet. Right, we enter maybe some of the Asian countries who love the technology. Maybe that's the way to go. Like they don't have time to like write, want to respond via mail. Like they use their phones for everything, right? Even payment centers, like in China, there's a high preference to pay with your phone than it is like no one carry cash. So you open the cash buy, eliminate an entire host of people. Kind of similar issues. I didn't say issues because it do very well, but things like Johnny's Beef and these other restaurants that try to save taxes and they only do cash only. Like who really cares cash on them all the time? Right? Even us, we probably have Apple Pay, Google Pay, or something of that sort. So things are changing. We got to evolve with the times and the location. All right, so we got quantitative and qualitative. Hey, what's qualitative? Like, what can you yield from qualitative information?
Generally, the study might not be as broad, but you have a much more in-depth study on a few specific people.
Okay. We say, hey, qualitative, not as broad in general, maybe a little bit more tailored to address specific things. And you feel that you can get better type of information. Okay, anyone else? Qualitative? Right? The qualitative information, you can get things that can't usually be just understood without some form of like description. Right? You get descriptive sort of information, things that describe why somebody thinks the way they think, why they do what they do. Right? And then you can see patterns and trends and themes. Right? So you put things like, okay, I see a theme, I see a narrative here, right? I see a pattern. But from there you could delineate, kind of get information that probably couldn't have with other sort of methods. We say it's an exploration of what people do or say, right? You can use observation, you could do in-depth interviews, right, or you could do focus groups. Anyone ever participate in a focus group? What did you do? What did you do?
I think it was like more of a study. So they had like each student throw like a ball into like a bucket, and they would count how many threw in there. And they would ask you a couple questions, and then you would get.
Okay.
I don't know what the point was.
Okay. But you had to do something.
Yeah.
You had to do something, and then did you have to describe? You said you would like answer some questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we say, hey, focus groups, you can get really great information because a lot of times you can place people in a room together, right? Think about it, like, okay, professor up here lecturing, but if I put you in groups, you probably sometimes better information, but you really have a natural conversation with somebody about something, right? So if it's like Pepsi product, you sample it, like, hey, what do you think? Like, yeah, that one kind of like this and that. You probably get more natural responses, right? And probably lead to a conversation that might go somewhere else about the product, right? Something that you probably wouldn't have gotten in some other method. So focus groups are great things.
I didn't think about this, but I did do one for Dr. Cornell's textbook too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
So how'd it go?
It was good. We had probably 5 students. It was, we had 2 people who were returners, who had like been through a year, at least a year. But all the other people were kind of younger, so they didn't know as much, but it was good.
Did you have to review the book or something?
She just went through it and asked us like our opinions on it, what we thought about the features and all that.
Alright. Yeah, you say, hey, there's some valuable information there, right? You can pool everybody's opinions on there or little things you saw pop up in these questions and discussions and conversations. Like, I never even thought about that too. Right? You might find an insight as a company, as a marketer, you never thought about. Right? Well, they've given us some ideas, right? Some ideas of us. Quantitative, structured. Say quantitative might be more reliable, right? The facts are the facts, the data is the data. The data says what it says, right? No need for us to guess, no need for us to kind of pull out things like that. So it's structured, right? Where the response options have been predetermined. Predetermined, hey, Likert scale, 1 to 5. Most likely, less likely, right? Hated, love it, right? You've really constricted things. You kind of place things in a box. And in a box, you're like, well, I think you could be more interested. As opposed to this big open form of discussion. Might save you time, possibly, right? Because you don't have to interpret that much. Things like survey research, right? Experiments and observations as well too. Categories of equivalence, right? We got things like conceptual equivalence and functional equivalence. So we're looking at things where you do measurement, data collection, sampling, and translation. So we have translation equivalence, lexical equivalence. Basically saying, like, is there an equivalence in how you present the word, the idiomatics, the grammar, right? The experiential, right? You have to have some sort of basic reference that you say this will make sense to these groups of people based on grammar, syntax, lexicon, right? Idioms, etc. Measurement equivalence, right? We say, hey, you know, we got different measuring systems, metric equivalence, calibration equivalence, right? What's our frame of reference here again? What is the 0 mark, right? Temporal equivalence, right? Things dealing with time, perception. So we perceive things different. In Ecuador, let's go back to maybe time orientation. The United States, you show up on time. You don't show up on time. You put in waste of their time, you don't respect them. show up 15 minutes late, still show up early, right? Yeah, and in other places, you let punctuality is favored. So we gotta consider even those sorts of things, right? We have to look at those perceptual things. Sampling equivalents, right? Sampling units, frame, comparability across college. When we say a sample is something that's representative of some entire population. Equivalence in data collection, cooperation, right? Data collection context, response time. How do people respond, you know, and how would you convert that to meaningful information? Part is universal, A, and part is contextual. Right? So maybe we want to understand what the universals are. What are things that are generally accepted across the entire population? And what are things that are like very specific things to a small group? Right? Problems of conceptual appear when translating, decentering may be necessary, modify the source instrument. Right, so we have an instrument. Instrument means like a questionnaire that answers a specific question that's been used before. It's a reliable questionnaire. You didn't make it yourself. Right? Could have been vetted and used before and answer a specific question. It saves you time, right? If you have an instrument that's already been used, it's proving itself. Let's draft a whole new questionnaire and use it for the first time ever, right? That'd be a little bit risky, right? Because if that country already has that type of questionnaire, already translated, already meaningful to the context of those people, you probably won't use that, right? But you may want to modify it a little bit. Say modify it to make sure we include our brand or the, you know, category of marketing that we have or business. Let me modify it a little bit. Such as a function of a product, particular functional uses, benefits. So example here would be wine, beer, bike, yogurt, etc. Back more to kind of measure equivalence, we say A, demographics, psychographics, right? We talk about the perceptual realities of people. Colors, how do people perceive colors? When we say certain places colors is danger, probably not good for promoting certain types of products. In other places, colors energetic, probably very good to use with certain types of products. Right? The color red. Smells. I also know that Procter & Gamble and I believe Unilever in Brazil had to make more potent fragrances for their detergents and dishwashing soaps. The Brazilians prefer more perfumed scents, right? They like a little bit stronger scents. Why? Because they actually use these products a lot. Like in Brazil, cleaning is a huge, huge thing in much parts of that country, right? They like to use it like this to smell good as a cleaning. It's like this enjoyment process of one thing's got fragrance, one thing, right? Maybe not to be so sort of sterile, right? As opposed to here, we're kind of getting there. Things usually smell very sterile when we talk about cleaning agents. Now they're beginning to add a little bit more of these fragrances to cleaning agents. And then we said metric calibration such as inflation, weight, distance, and temporal. Here's a question. Which information gathering technique should one use for personal care products in a country where, for instance, potential respondents resent interviews as an intrusion into their get information from people who are like, hey, you know, well, yes, we private information. Yeah.
If you could figure out like the numbers on like what products we can purchase in that country.
So you saying maybe just like secondary data?
Yeah, from like the companies themselves, like not, from, since the people don't give out interviews, like if the companies that like
Gotcha.
or something like when they're sold.
So you go look at the data collected from companies and say, okay, we literally look at sales information, people like this, don't like that, it's like no sales, people don't buy this, people like that. These behaviors. Anything else you could think of creatively? Did you get information from people who don't, you know, want you to ask them to surprise you?
Maybe if it's like a service, like a restaurant or something, the waiter can ask at the end, like, oh, how was your experience? And then, not as an interview, though, just as like a in passing question.
Yeah, we say that's a workaround, right? Maybe the approach is intrusive, but how much you actually are part of the survey, right? But if it's a casual conversation, like in the service industry, maybe that you could collect that information too and use that, right? Over an extended period of time. Our response style equivalent, mean scores and standard deviations, right? Margins of error for national groups may be biased. Extreme response style, people tend to overstate the responses. Think in New York, right? Think they're trying to get information in New York. Now, Donald Trump's from New York, right? And to sort of fluff everything is very much a New York characteristic. It's the greatest out there. Greatest of all time. How's that state? That's in the world. Right? In the world. People get around the world? No, no matter. Right? So you're like, hey, there's a different than just even that kind of thing. That's in the US. Other places people might be a little bit more overly modest. Right? Like there's people, different parts of the country where people like, don't really get too excited about anything. You may not get good information in that area. And then you go to New York, you're like, okay, this is skewed. Like, nobody knows what the greatest means, right? This is relevant information. What's that mean? Right? It's the greatest of all time for everything. So yeah, so even we say response style, people have extreme response styles. Could be too sort of inflated, could be too underinflated. The Midwest, you know, us. Hey, who's not from the Midwest here? Arizona. 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 Both of them. Okay. You knew each other before?
Yeah.
Phoenix, Tucson, Scottsdale, which one?
North Phoenix.
North Phoenix. And Mike is from Charlotte. Okay. So who else is not from the Midwest? And do you think there's a difference in like communication styles from where you're from to where like the people around Chicago or the Midwest? And if so, how so?
That's a hard question. Maybe a little bit.
You find we're more, is it laid back in the Midwest? More laid back than say Southwest? Pacific Southwest?
I'd say it's more like back there.
Okay. All right, say like, hey, even here, right? We could say maybe Southwest Arizona, a little bit more laid back. Things not as fast, different climate, right? So people live different lifestyles. Here, you know, we got this brutal cold. Some people describe us as harder type of people deal with. Like physical, we got to deal with harder stuff. We got to deal with corruption, crime, harsh weather. And maybe it reflects our communication styles, right? In New York, like I say, even worse too. You're gonna get people that's way too direct, offensive, right? Offensively direct in something. Yaysayers and naysayers, right? People tend to answer positive side of the scale or negative side, right? And so maybe that could be geographic reasons or power distance issues, things of those concerns. Some necessities, high degree of cultural understanding, right? You understand the customs, the viewpoints, the semantics, the attitudes. And then legal and ethical issues, regulatory issues. Industry standards to guide research activities. You know, a lot of times you may, if it's a large study, you may have to go through some sort of review board to ask the large population some specific questions, right? And it has to be culturally sensitive, which is beautiful, right? Culturally competent as well too. That's kind of a struggle. You gotta make sure you ask questions that don't offend somebody, but you may, it's not a question and answer. So it's like, that's quite a challenge. You could be rejected by, say, a governmental review board that's been offensive, and you gotta go back and rework things with your study, right, with your research. All right, so we say privacy issues. Hey, what kind of information you trying to get from people? Are you asking personal, too much personal information? Right? Just basic demographic information, like might violate some regulatory or ethical, violating promises of anonymity. Hey, what are you using with their, you got my name, my phone number, my address, what are you gonna use that for? What are you gonna do with that data? Once you're done with this stuff? Are you gonna dispose of it? Are you gonna get rid of it so that you don't steal my info? Right? And then honesty throughout the research, right? For the rights of others, using competitive information. There's rights for business spying, there's laws against that, right? But oftentimes it's violated, because you want to know, like, hey, what are some new products in research and development? You know, Apple might send somebody to spy on Samsung, right? They may send somebody to get hired at Samsung in the engineering department or R&D, so you can see exactly what they're up to. And for the new product coming out next year, it's hush hush. How did they do it? What method did they use? So we can skill that and come up with it maybe before they get to it or right after, right? So we can keep up. But there's laws against that, right? You want to make sure that things are competitive and that people are not just stealing information by deceptive practices. And then honesty. Sometimes people just lie. They go here in America, if you get paid, let's say, you don't get paid $150 to go do questionnaire survey somewhere, you don't really care. You lied one thing. You lied to say you got cancer. Because they paid $150 for 30 minutes of question. You want the $150, you lied, right? You lied about this and that because you wanted the money. Don't participate, it's all a farce. Get your cash, have it, and go out and eat, have some fun. You know, like an excuse to be sick. Right? So, or you say very impoverished country, you offer some money. And people here is real poverty, you offer them some money, everybody's the one. Right? You're like, you know who it's qualified. You're not part of the group that need to answer the question. People want to know. All right, so people say dishonesty, you know, like, now you did all this research is relevant because people lie. All right, that's it for chapter 7. And so we can have our blurbs. Let's kind of start. Here. Yes.
Oh, it's really pretty special. They like talks about us watching the video.
Discussion. Which video was it?
So, I already did it. I just related it to what we were talking about last. Just gave like examples. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Is this a video?
So it's like going back to short clips we discussed in class.
Okay. You can kind of do the same thing here, just kind of reflect on what we discussed and create some, you know, comparative references or something of the sort. Don't need to worry about it. Now, is that the same question you had or not? Something different. Okay. All right. think this trend will continue moving forward? Like,
Well, I think it's really hard to stop, like, buying from Target or Walmart, especially because of the prices. And if the prices of those groceries are going up, people might opt to go to a cheaper option, even if it's something against their, whatever they use. So I think it might stop, but it's not because people are choosing to buy from them, but rather than they're gonna afford based on prices.
do you think that we're viewing companies as miniature governments, or that they are so tied into the government that they seem to be political institutions themselves? Like, what are your thoughts? Because you all are the generation that really kind of fostered this, right? Which is, to say like, yeah, it doesn't align with my values, so, cancel, boycott, do whatever, because you're like, hey, companies have a responsibility, right, to be ethical, to morally opposed, to try to better the social general welfare of the environment. Like, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that, how do you view the responsibilities of the organizations when it comes to like political stuff? Yes?
I mean, I feel like if they bring politics into their marketing or something, then it's like, I think it has an impact on like what somebody would think. But, I mean, I think if they're not bringing politics into their marketing or anything, and it's not a part of their company, I don't think it should like impact the decision to shop there.
They're like, hey, the fact that you want to get into politics, Target, right? By adopting DEI, and once Harris Biden administration's gone, kick back to the new generation. Basically, you're flexing to whoever wins the presidency, right? Whatever administration it is, that's what you're gonna follow. That seems kind of like blatant, right?
I also think people will care. I think people realize that really they're just following the trend. So I think shoppers are eventually just going to continue to shop as they do.
Someone, Tim?
I kind of agree with what you said, in that if you remain apolitical, you don't really pick a side, people don't care as much. But as soon as you throw your hat into the ring and say, I support this side or I support the other side, it can lead to shift in consumer behavior, in that they don't want to, one side of the party might really want to buy from you, they want to support you, the other side wants nothing to do with you. And that's what we saw with Bud Light, and what we're seeing now with Target, is that a big part of their market doesn't want to support them because of the decisions they've made.
Yeah. So Target's made themselves a target by KBC. Anyone else? Any thoughts on? All right, excellent. Thank you. Do you think that sometimes companies are forced to get in? I think maybe with, what we're gonna say?
I think if anything, it's a financial decision they make. Maybe they have such a strong support system from one side that they don't care. But in their case, like Bud Light's case, they obviously lost a lot of money from it, so
Yeah.
they probably made the wrong decision.
Good point.
So I don't have the presentation, but
Okay.
kind of just a summary. Speaking of Walmart, Walmart's actually, like, they're predicting that their sales are gonna go down because of all the tariffs that are being brought in, like that their logos and all their sales are just going to, not like be gone forever, but they're just gonna slowly stop offering, like, oh, this is like 15% off, or this is clearance kind of stuff because of all the tariffs. And they were saying that their profits, they're actually saying that the profits are going to go up because of the tariffs, but the shoppers going there are not going, like, that's not getting us, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then they were also saying
Yeah, I mean, like, if that's the case, you're like, hey, if you no longer care about us, we should be your primary concern as the consumer that gives you money, then you're gonna suffer, right? We're gonna, as a collective group, make you suffer financially, right? Which is interesting, so Walmart's profits are expected to go up due to the tariffs, but they're going to not stop, but they're gonna eliminate promotion, sales and clearances. And small businesses are gonna be hurt because of this, maybe likely some of their suppliers, right, who are small businesses, they give them the product. Yeah, it sounds a little interesting. It's like the customer loses again, and the small business loses again, but Walmart. So maybe, I don't know, the tariffs are about giving back these major corporations way too much power and eliminating like these small corporations even more. Almost very much an oligarchy even. So Google get bigger, Apple get even more powerful, Amazon get powerful, Tesla, Walmart, Target, even potentially, and then we'll see less and less smaller stores. That's my theory.
I think it's also interesting, like what you were saying, is how like all of these bigger companies, yes, they'll have to like charge more for the tariffs, but they won't really care about that because they're still gonna, like people are still going to shop there because they still have to shop
Yeah.
there. But then like the article that I was reading, that like the smaller companies, if they don't go out of business, they'll just have smaller leverage in the economy
Yeah.
because they're not making as much money as they should. Because why go to this company that's charging this much? You could just go to Walmart and you've always been.
Yeah, and you think about it, you're like, whoa, that's an interesting strategy. More market share to big companies, less market share for smaller companies. The big companies are the ones that do multiple political donations. And as you got those people to support you, then you ensure that your side is well taken care of. Right? Something to think about. All right, thank you. Who's next? Yeah, so we're gonna be forced to shop at these places. We're gonna have fewer alternatives. I like the more alternative sort of approach, right? Like, I don't wanna get rid of having choice in all the different places. I wanna have to shop at Amazon, right?
So I found a news article, they just released a new iPhone, so like as you guys know, normally they come out in September, but they released like a new cheaper model. I guess they've been not losing money, but profits have gone down a lot significantly, and phones are like their largest, obviously like product, that brings in the most money, so they were looking for a way to like capture a new market segment more or less, and they haven't had like a new SE phone in a while. So it's like the cheapest model they got. It's like $599 versus $799 and $999 for like 16 and 16 plus Pro. But it's more expensive than like the old SE models. But it has all the like modern updates. The old SE models, when they would come out with a cheaper one, it would have like the home button still, or it just wouldn't run as fast. So it still has like it has Apple AI and all like the new features. There's no home button. It just has like one camera lens instead of 3 or whatever. So it's just slightly down a bit, but they're hoping it'll capture a new market segment and increase their sales.
The new market segment they're trying to capture, right? Because you're kind of like, Apple kind of maxed out on this iPhone thing. We really haven't innovated, right? We haven't really innovated like that. Each time, just better camera, faster processor. But it's this new segment, like, we think they're trying to make affordable SE phones for like younger people, like they're trying to target parents to buy their children some phones and make it affordable.
Yeah,
Or is it
I'm
different target?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's for people like, cause kids don't need like as like nice of a phone or whatever, so it's probably a way for like parents, since a lot of kids have phones nowadays, or even like just younger kids that want an iPhone, but say like, you're getting a new job, you're moving out of your parents' house, whatever, you can't afford the like most expensive thing. But if you've been like a loyal Apple
time is it? Who has the time?
42.
Okay, so we got time to finish up. Yeah, Apple has an innovative with the phone. Like, I don't know what can they innovate with the phone. What can they do? I always thought like a projector would be cool, like one of the lenses on the back, like a little projector.
Oh, yeah.
You might eliminate people needing like a TV right here, and they can like, put this thing. Yeah, HDMI port in your laptop? An actual HDMI?
No.
Do you have? You have two, oh, this might have two of these. And there's another one, right? But not the same. All right, Tim's things not working, so what do you want to do, something more Tuesday, or you want to just tell us about it?
I can just tell you about
Okay,
it.
go ahead.
Visuals aren't too important.
All right.
NBA All-Star Game happened, I want to say it was this last Saturday. And it was not received very well, had second lowest viewership ever, with 4.7 million people watching. The fans of the game weren't happy with it. They said it wasn't good. The players who were part of it or were there just to enjoy the weekend, they said it wasn't good. This continues a general downward trend for the NBA this year, in which viewership has been down all around. And this goes against like the NFL, who has had better viewership than in years past, and it's continued going upwards. And so it's kind of this interesting dichotomy where you have one sports league which is doing really good and another one which is doing really poorly. And I'm kind of curious as to why these two are so different in that aspect.
Anybody with a theory on why the NBA viewership is going down?
They just play too many games and the game's boring.
Too many games, games boring, you're allowing people to take 4 or 5 steps and not call travel. With the All-Star game, what is it, they're trying to make it to a tournament, I think, in the future.
I think this year was the first year with like a tournament
Yeah.
format, and before they even had the first game, Draymond Green was saying how much he hated the idea.
Yeah, I think it's stupid, and then before they let Team LeBron, Team Curry, that's a whole change, that was kind of goofy. So I think the only way to save it is to go back to being strict on the rules, like he was saying about traveling, and then letting the fans pick the teams east versus west, right? And we stop giving so much power to the players. I think too much power to the players is really what messed up the NBA. All right, everyone, thank you. That's it for today, and I will see you on Tuesday.
What else is this? Do we have a quiz this week?
No, I'll review it right now, and, I'll send an announcement, let them know what we're gonna do with it.